From a massive security breach to mass suspensions to protests to passage of key bills. The winter session of the Parliament has seen it all. Nearly 150 MPs, 100 in Lok Sabha and 46 in Rajya Sabha stand suspended today, leading to mass protests by opposition, with the government responding with even more alacrity in passing key bills. 3 Congress MPs, Deepak Baij, Nakul Nath and DK Suresh, were suspended on Thursday as they continued their protests, showing placards, shouting slogans, tearing papers and throwing them at the Speaker's chair. Now, the Lok Sabha, which was adjourned sine die a day ahead of schedule today, recorded 74% productivity in the winter session of the Parliament. This is what Speaker Om Birla said today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met the Speaker after the session in a customary meeting, and he talked about all the necessary measures that need to be put in place for improving the security of the Parliament that was breached by 2 intruders on the 13th of December. Important bills such as Telecommunications Bill that looks at major changes in the way telecom services operate, or spectrum is allocated in India and even has implications on user safety, cyber safety against fraud calls, revised bills replacing India's criminal laws, and the controversial CEC bill that regulates the appointment of India's election commissioners were passed with very few opposition MPs present. Let's go across to my colleague Himanshu, who has been tracking the Parliament session. Himanshu, take us through all the important bills that have been passed and also explain the politics of the mass suspensions on one side and the protests on the other.
Well, I think this was an unprecedented parliamentary session, very stormy, and perhaps which witnessed the worst in terms of the kind of politics we saw of disruption. There was a new political culture of disruption which overshadowed this session, which led to the expulsion of 143 MPs of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, the worst ever in the history of Indian Parliament. But despite that, despite most of the opposition benches being empty, with 2/3 of the Lok Sabha MPs being expelled, 46 MPs expelled in Rajya Sabha, still the productivity of the Lok Sabha came to around 74% and 18 bills were passed. And this is despite the fact that most of the opposition MPs were not present in the House when the discussions were held. And so clearly the opposition allegation is that they wanted to participate in these important legislations that you just mentioned, the 3 criminal laws bill, the CEC and EC appointment in terms of office bill, the telecommunications bill. The list is very long. 18 bills were passed in Lok Sabha, but on most of these bills, no meaningful discussion could take place. Government on the other side insisted all the time that there was a very important legislative agenda that was pending in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and the government wanted to push them through, and the opposition ruckus was denying the government an opportunity to conduct a meaningful discussion and debate on all these important legislations. But opposition kept on insisting that after the Parliament security breach, Home Minister Amit Shah must come to the House, in both the Houses, and make a clarificatory statement as to how such worst Parliament security breach happened in last 22 years. And that led to a stalemate, a chaos, and the session ended on a very stormy note, with hundreds of opposition MPs walking from Parliament to Vijay Chowk with banners of Save Democracy, and how they alleged the democracy was being weakened because of the expulsion of a large number of opposition MPs. So very unprecedented, stormy session has finally come to an end. But with that also it has set a very bad precedent, with 143 opposition MPs being expelled during this very short 2-week long session.
Right.